Of course, we cannot take the stability of inflation expectations for granted. Come what may, we will not allow a one-time increase in the price level to become an ongoing inflation problem. So, putting the pieces together, what are the implications for monetary policy? In the near term, risks to inflation are tilted to the upside and risks to employment to the downside, a challenging situation. When our goals are in tension like this, our framework calls for us to balance both sides of our dual mandate. Our policy rate is now 100 basis points closer to neutral than it was a year ago, and the stability of the unemployment rate and other labor market measures allows us to proceed carefully as we consider changes to our policy stance.
This is going to be a full pre-market preparation. In fact, picture the scene. We're going to go through this together. Why is it important? How can you prepare for it going right? How can you prepare for it going wrong? What happens if the market doesn't react the way that we want it to react? Because it is all about Mr. Powell going onto that podium today. Picture the scene. He's on the podium. We expect him to do one thing. We expect him to cut rates. How much? 25 basis points. How do we know? We look at Polymarkets. Tells us there's 93% probability of that happening. Now, why is that important? Because the markets are forward looking, the markets are always leading, the markets always front run what the news is expected to happen and what the percentage of that's going to be. So we've got a 93% probability. So the market has built this in with a 93% degree probability that that is what's going to happen. If it didn't happen and we got no rate cut, what would happen? Negative sentiment. We'd get a crash in the market. Do I think that's going to happen? No, because we've got the probabilities 93%. So collectively, people that think 50 basis point, people that think no change, people that think that there's going to be an increase, stick them people together and collectively they've got a 7% chance between them. So we understand 93%, the market's built in 93%. So Mr. Powell on his podium today, what happens if it goes wrong? What kind of speech is he going to do? What happens if it goes right? What kind of stimulus is that going to create? It is all about his tone, whether it's going to be dovish or whether it's going to be hawkish. And for anyone that's new to crypto, anyone that's new to finance, what does that mean? Hawkish is bad sentiment, dovish is good sentiment. And it is all about the words that's going to come out of his mouth. Now, what would bad look like? Firstly, 25 basis points. That's pretty much guaranteed. We're expected that. Market's built in 25 basis points. So you understand if we're going to get a 25 basis point and then a hawkish tone, that the market would react to that negatively because it's uncertain as to whether we're going to get further rate cuts going on into 2025. So dovish, hawkish. The second thing from a hawkish perspective to look at is he going to be monitoring the data going into 2025 before he's reactive to his decision as whether we're going to get further cuts? That's going to be a bad thing because ultimately he's going to be driven by the data. It's going to be tariffs, it's going to be inflation data, it's going to be jobs numbers, it's going to be all these things collectively that the Fed are going to be watching for the rest of the year before they're reactive to their decision. That's going to create a degree of uncertainty. And if that creates a degree of uncertainty, what happens to the markets? They become uncertain. So let's talk about dovish. What would a dovish stance look like? Mr. Powell on his podium, he's talking about his 25% rate cut, and then he's saying that the easing cycle is going to continue during the course of 2025 because the data's coming down, inflation's coming down, jobs numbers are steady, apparently. Jobs numbers are steady, and that allows him to continue the easing process going into 2025. There's another 2 rate cuts that are available, another 2 FOMCs for the rest of the year, I think. So if we got another 25 basis point after today, and another 25 after that, or even a cheeky 50 after that, that's going to bring 75% down or 1% down during the course of 2025 in such a short period of time. What does that do? It allows money to flow into the economy. Why does that? Because interest rates come down. People have savings as far as mortgages are concerned. Interest rates come down. People start borrowing more because their interest rates are lower. It creates liquidity going into the market. Businesses borrow. There's less layoffs. These things, from a macro perspective, allow us to drive on risk. And when retail are in the market, retail want on risk. Why? Because they want to wait out of their 9 to 5, so they go on risk. You don't see retail come in, getting loads of money and sticking it in the S&P and getting their 5, 6, whatever percent every single year. Retail can't do that because retail, certainly a lot of retail, need that allocation of capital to spend at any given time. So they pull out of the markets when the markets do bad. Unfortunately, they lose out. So that's what we could look for. That's what we could expect for as far as a dovish and a hawkish stance is concerned. We'll jump into the charts now. We'll look at Bitcoin. We're going to go over the macro, and then I've got all your altcoin requests and how you can prepare for this day, because it is an important day. So preparation is key. Preparation is key. One thing that we need to remember and one thing we need to understand is this big daddy Bitcoin, it's done its thing. This was November 2022. Bitcoin has put in consistent higher highs, and higher lows and higher lows and higher highs since November 2022. Bitcoin's had its bull run for 3 years and nobody cares about Bitcoin anymore. How do we know that? We can measure it. So it's been in the range. It's been in the range now for quite a long time. It's been in this range for 69 days. So 69 days in a range. The key question is, during those 69 days where Bitcoin's been topping out, Bitcoin's been doing nothing, and Bitcoin's been slowing down, has altcoins been falling or have altcoins been outperforming? We look at the dominance, and that's going to tell us that answer, because it's been dropping. We set up here, bearish divergence, expect a drop. Where do you expect a drop? We expected a drop down at this support base, resistance, back down at this support. That's a 1-to-1 equal measure move. You get your next support down here at 1272, 55.47. So we know that during those 69 days, while Bitcoin's been topping out, dominance has been coming down. That's a little picture that we've just collected from 2 charts. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the S&P 500. So S&P 500 has done exactly the same thing collectively since June. It's been putting in all-time highs, it's been putting in all-time highs, and it's been putting in all-time highs. So you've got confidence in Bitcoin, you've got confidence in the S&P. We've got a drop in dominance. Can you see? These 3 charts are painting a picture now. So S&P off risk, new highs. Bitcoin off risk, new highs. Bitcoin dominance putting in new lows. What does that mean? From these 3 charts, we're painting a picture that people aren't interested in Bitcoin. People are less interested in stocks as we put little swings in. And then people that are holding their dollars, that have been holding their dollars down here, have started to spend their dollars. This is the USDT dominance. So it's the dollar within crypto. If people are holding stable coins, there's indecision in the market. If people are spending stable coins, what they're spending it on, they're not spending it on groceries in the shop, they're spending it on altcoins. Otherwise, they'd have dollars. So we understand when people are spending their USDT, what are they buying? They're buying altcoins. What does that do? Reduces the dominance of USDT and increases the dominance of the altcoin market. So we can see that by total 3. Total 3 is independent now, and total 3 is waiting to break its all-time high. There's indecision in the market. He's going to do a speech later on. That speech is going to dictate whether we're going to break through total 3 and actually really start this alt season. And the next thing is going to be the Russell 2000. I talk about this. People think I talk about this too much. However, I don't talk about this enough, guys, because when you look at the Russell 2000 and you look at the total 3 and you look at the liquidity within the Russell 2000 in comparison to the total 3 is a drop in the ocean. When the Fed is talking about the macro financial cycle. He's not talking about crypto. He's talking about where the flow of liquidity can lie at any given time. If we continue QE, 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 and we're going to get 2 more rate cuts after today, that means the market's going to build in and build in and build in. That means interest rate payments are actually going to start coming down, and people are going to start having spare money to be able to put into high risk. That means borrowing is going to come down. So people are going to be able to take out more loans. Businesses are going to be able to take out more loans. Businesses are going to be able to take more risk. And then people are going to start spending money into the economy. You can see that by looking at the M2 money supply. And then the flow of liquidity goes from the off risk into the on risk. When it goes into the on risk and we get confidence, fingers crossed it's going to be today, Russell 2000 is going to break all-time highs. Total 3 is going to break all-time highs. And then the market is going to go risk on. As simple as that. We look at the others chart. This is collectively everything outside of the top 10. Get rid of your Cardanos, get rid of your XRPs, get rid of all of these big blue chips, your Solanas, and then put them collectively against Bitcoin. Take out the blue chips, put the rest outside of the top 10 against Bitcoin. And guess what? They're absolutely smashing Bitcoin. They're outperforming Bitcoin. How do we know? Bitcoin's not putting in new highs. Collectively, the others against Bitcoin are putting in new highs. We've even had a golden cross. So once we break this area here, you can see that's a strong resistance point at 0.0146,110. That is going to be an acceleration, a big acceleration, with your next resistance at 0.227633. So let's jump into the altcoins. And we're going to start off with Litecoin. Litecoin is something that's been requested from our Discord group members. And if you want to be one of the people that interact with me directly, you want to be one of the people that can ask me anything, you want to be one of the people that put in these chart requests that happen twice a week, this Discord group is completely free. You'll start here. This is to stop bots. You'll start here. So you'll end up start here. And you just go to the top. solve the capture. When you solve the capture, you'll have access to all these servers, all these great people, all this great info. This is where you can put your chart requests. So get yourself on there. Link is in the description below. So let's go through these chart requests for today, starting with Litecoin. You can see we're at a resistance level. This resistance level is a bull pennant. We're coiling up in a bull pennant. One thing that's happened, we've already had the golden cross. Can you see that when you're at resistance and we've got a news event, the market's making a decision, the market is coiling up to make a move. The bulls and the bears are fighting during this pennant, And there's one thing that's going to create a catalyst. If he's got a hawkish tone, we're doing this. Bam. If he's got a dovish tone, we're doing exactly the opposite. We're doing this. So we're waiting to see exactly what he's going to say. And I'll tell you something, guys. This is why people say don't trade news. If you get the Bitcoin chart up, if you get your altcoin chart up, you stick the 5-minute chart on there and you watch that alongside him speaking, you'll see it going up liquidations, you see it going down liquidations, you see it go up and down and up and down. And that is the change of his tone. Sometimes he'll be with one sentence be dovish, and then he'll be a little bit hawkish with the next sentence, followed by dovish and followed by hawkish. And if I stood in front of the news and I did that, guess what? I'd be a market manipulator, but we're not going to talk about that. So that's waiting for a move to the upside. It is at a resistance point. It is creating a bull flag, and we're waiting to find out which way that's going to happen. I'm not talking about extensions. I'm not talking about drops. We're talking about preparation in this video. So that's Litecoin. You've got Flux next. Now, we talk about this all the time. I call it the pothole effect. Now, why do I call it the pothole effect? Because this thing is designed to wipe people out. You're going through this long accumulation phase, And what happens when you're in a long accumulation phase? You make a base. When you make a base, that creates confidence that when something hasn't happened for such a long period of time, there's less of a probability of it happening. So we had this long base, we had the long base. And what happens? If you think there's a high probability that you're going to be right, and if that thing has held for such a long period of time, it is going to continue to hold, what happens? You put your stop loss under there. So everybody sticks their stop loss under there. And what happens if your stops get taken out? It creates an acceleration to the downside. And this is what I call a pothole effect. It's designed to wreck people, to wipe people out. And that's exactly how it happens time and time again. So that's what I'm waiting for on Flux. But again, one thing that we want is to break this 200 daily moving average at 24 cents. You've got the 50 period moving average at 21 cents. Once you break close above the 24 cents, that means you're taking out the 50 period moving average. And once price is above the 50, once price is above the 200, holding them as support, 50 obviously is 4 times quicker than the 20. Then that's going to continue up, create the golden cross as long as price remains above it. That's the key. So it is preparation. You can see that this Cadena, we've had a break, we've had a close, we've got a retest. This is the support area here, 0.3676, all the way down here to 0.3437. You can see that's held as support. And the one good thing that I like about this is we've had a build of a price action in this area. So because you've had that build of a price action, that gives you something to fall back on. That gives you support. We've got Polygon next. Polygon's at a resistance level. It's coming back. It's coming back to test its 50 period moving average. We need a break and a close above the 0.2961. What happens? You get the acceleration. Why will you get an acceleration? Because clues look left. We got a big move to the downside here. And what happened? We had little buildup of price action during this period. So what does that mean? That means less resistance barriers to get through on the way up. 29 cents, 0.2961 on Polygon. SUI next. See, SUI's had a break a trend. It's come back up. It's retested this level. It's taken its 200. It's taken its 50. It's coming back. It's retesting its 50. And if you look closely, you can see it's holding its 50 today. So that's making a high probability that's going to be a move to the upside. That's going to be invalidated underneath $3.17. That would be hawkish. If we got hawkish tone today, expect that to drop below there, back to the next resistance point at $2.12. XRP next, exactly the same. You see these charts are doing exactly the same things. You're in a bull pennant, you've had a breakout, you come back, you retest, you're holding the 50 level. The 50 level is at $2.99. This $3 is going to be a key psychological level to hold. So make sure that you hold $3. If we get a hawkish tone, we're going back down. How far? This is your next support base, $2.75, and then you're going all the way back down here at $2.44. Not talking about projections. I'm going to do a follow-on video very shortly once we've had the FOMC to keep you updated exactly once we've got some kind of directional bias as far as the market's concerned. Finally, we've got Jasmy. So we've been talking about Jasmy a lot on this channel. Jasmy come back. It held at 61.8% retracement. We had a break of trend. It come back down. Jasmy got rejected from its 200 daily moving average, and then We fell back. Where did we fall back to? All the way to the 618, 0.01422. Right, okay, that is about it from me for now. Make sure that you do get yourself in the Discord group because, like I say, it is completely free. That's where all the information happens. That's where you can ask me anything directly, and that's where we can interact and build a friendship together. Like I have with so many people already in here, so many friends that I've made in here. This is one of the reasons that I got into crypto because I'm from the UK. It was like a dirty word talking about crypto in the UK a few years ago. And let me tell you something, it was pretty much a scam. I was labeled pretty much a criminal. I couldn't talk about it. And if I couldn't talk about it to anyone, guess what? My passion just got built in and built in and built in. And I felt that I had nobody I could share it with. And since I started my YouTube channel, since I started the Discord group, that gives me one thing. It gives me a network of people of like-minded thoughts and like-minded goals with the same kind of intentions, and then we can bounce off each other because we are interested in the same thing. And surround yourself by people that are smarter than you. That's what I always say. And I always say that I can learn something from everyone. And I do go a little bit off tangent, guys. Anyone that doesn't know me, I've got ADHD. So I flip from one thing, I flip from another thing. And once I want to do one video in my head, I'm thinking I'm going to do that next. I'll end up doing something completely different. These guys in the Discord group are absolutely brilliant for just bringing me down to a level, putting me on point, telling me exactly what it is that they want, how I should direct the channel, and then I can build my analysis based on what it is that they need, what it is that they require, and how I can educate them on the way, because that's all this is. It's an educational game. I want to teach you everything that I know within the space, everything that I know within trading from a psychological perspective, from a risk management perspective, from a macro overview perspective. I want us to look at charts collectively and discuss the charts together rather than me dictate them. So if you did enjoy this video, guys, don't forget, subscribe to the channel. The channel is starting to grow a lot now, 10,806. So I only just hit 10,000 a couple of weeks ago. Let's push this channel and leave a comment. Let me know exactly what your thoughts are. Let's create a discussion in the comments. Hit the like button, subscribe if you're not subscribed, and I'll see you very shortly.